Welcome to the Meditation Center's monthly metaphysical lesson. This month's lesson is presented by guest speaker Reverend Jeannie Lerch and is called Being the Light for the World.
I want to wish you all a Happy New Year, and even more importantly, Happy New Day. You know, everyone celebrates the passing of an old year, and yahoo, here comes a new one. And this one really did start off pretty, what's the word?
Shaky.
Shaky, that's a good word. Yes, you know, New Year's Day and beyond, it's like, this wasn't what I was expecting. But we always have to remember that for every negative thing we see on the television or hear about, there are so many other wonderful things. And that's so important to remember. The really awful things consume the news because they're really awful things. But if we keep ourselves centered in the light, and in our own light, we can do all we can do. And we're never totally helpless. There is always room for prayer. And some people I know won't even watch the news because they don't want to know what's going on. I don't want to watch it 24/7. It can really drag you down. But if you don't know what's going on, sometimes I like to have my prayers a little more specific. I pray a lot for the world, but sometimes if someone helps me be aware that someone else is struggling in some way, having a severe health challenge, or there's chaos surrounding them, then I can direct my prayers even more specifically. It is our responsibility to not run around like Chicken Little saying the sky is falling, but rather going within and saying, is it really? No. It really isn't. What can I do to improve the situation? Guide me, please. Because sometimes, even in our prayers, which I call talking to God, sometimes we are so specific. That's what we want. That may not be God's plan. And I'm sure Ron and I are not the only ones. I'm sure all of you have had things happen in your life and you think, what the heck? What did I do to deserve this? Or what happened? I thought I was on the right track. Sometimes what we think is so important is very, very small in the grand scheme of this beautiful planet, the universe. There have been incidents in our life where we really thought, why? Why did this happen to someone we know, someone we love, or someone we have just recently been told about? I have found those kinds of things do encourage us to go within. Ask our questions of God, and then shush, meditate, allow the answers to come. It's so human of many of us, myself certainly included, to get so caught up in something. There is so much hope and encouragement and guidance outside of our human mind that's racing. The answers are here. The reassurance is here. The light is indeed here. It is up to us to not only acknowledge it, but nourish it. Being in a wonderful place like this, it gives us that boost in all the humanness around us and within us. It gives us that boost, that wonderful reminder that no matter what, our Creator is right there. We have that piece of that light that is out there that everyone has. We just sometimes get caught up in being human, and we forget the most important part of our humanity. It is important to take care of ourselves, and it's so easy to say, and it's so difficult sometimes to do it. Now, I'm not talking about New Year's resolutions. I gave up on those years ago because I always had all these real pie in the sky dream. Oh, I'm going to do it. And it didn't happen. So I don't do that anymore. But a fresh new year and a fresh new beginning is a time to think about our lives right here, right now. Some of you may be caregivers, whether it's for very elderly, whether it's for a sibling or a dear friend. Sometimes it's a child that is having a great deal of difficulty. And that's the good side of humanity. We often do that first. And as the day builds, we think, oh, well, I'll meditate in a little bit, or I'll take a short nap later, or I know I need to drink water, but right now I'm in the middle of this, so I'm not getting up to get the water. We have to nourish ourselves, our physical body, our physical mind, and our spiritual awareness. Am I saying, oh, well, then that's it, don't bother doing anything for anybody? Quite the opposite, quite the opposite. But we have to nurture ourselves first. You know, the Bible tells us of water being turned into wine. Well, I don't mean to offend anyone, but I don't think any of us have ascended to that level yet. So we have to do the little things that we can. But we have to take care of ourselves. We have to. You can only give, you can only do, you can only provide so much. And then if we're not receiving that nourishment, that inner peace, that inner knowing, then the well's going to run dry. And then we're no help to anyone. So it's not selfish to do whatever you need to do to keep yourself well and strong and have that light shine as bright as possible. That's not selfish. It's survival. Because the more you nourish yourself physically and definitely spiritually, that well is never going to go dry. You are always going to have the resources to help those who are not as healthy or as financially stable. There are so many people in this world that don't want to hear about God. They don't want to hear about church. They don't want to hear about classes. Some of them made that choice in their life years ago. So is it any surprise that as they get older, they become more and more bitter? And that's so sad, because It doesn't have to be. Some people were dragged to church when they were little kids and they just grew up hating it. And they say, that's it, I'm done. I'm never going to worry about that again. Is there a God? I don't know. I don't care. Oh my golly, I feel so sorry for those people. To feel that alone, to feel that negative all the time. And I believe that's why this center is a leader in spirituality. Because there's not thou shalt nots going on here. There's not that threat of punishment. It's all positive. It's all positive. And yes, we each have to do our part. I don't think either one of our gentlemen here have a magic wand, and even if my name's Jeannie, you can't rub a lamp. I can't make it happen. But we're certainly all, and I know many of you, if not all of you, are the same way. We want to stay positive. We want to share hope and enlightenment, reassurance to others that we come across in our lives. Ron and I have a habit. No, we're not out exercising. We should be. No, we're not. He works a lot in his garage, and he does work. We like to do jigsaw puzzles. And because our cabin that we built is so little, and because I'm not the housekeeper, many of you may be, there's never a surface big enough to do a puzzle, so we do them out on our porch. And we haven't done one for several months, and we decided, let's do a puzzle. And out on the porch, I know the neighbors think we're crazy, and we're both bundled up in the biggest coats we have. Sometimes we'll have an Afghan over our legs. But we came home with a puzzle from some yard sale, and it had a whopping 48 pieces or something. And we thought, we can do this. Not when your fingers are so numb. And we're laughing, and there's snow all over our yard because even though the trees are bare, there's still other shade. You know what? We laughed a lot. Making fun of ourselves, making fun of each other, and laughing about what the neighbors are probably thinking. Those two crazy Floridians don't know enough to stay inside. We finally got it done, and it got crumbled up back in the bag and back in the box really fast. I mean, the speed of light compared to what it took us to put those few pieces together. When we do jigsaw puzzles, Ron and I have totally different ways to go about it. We have totally different terminology, and yet eventually it gets done anyway. Jigsaw puzzles are kind of a reminder of life. There's all sizes, there's all shapes, there's every color that anyone could ever conceive. Some puzzles, which I didn't know until Ron pointed out, have a pattern to them in that shaped a certain way, it's going to be a horizontal, and if it's shaped another way, it's going to be a vertical. To me, it just depends on how you hold it, but he says, no, that's not so. Some puzzles do have a bit of a pattern to them. Some, every now and then there will be some sharp, jagged piece, and you think, where the heck does that go? It's not like anything else. Somehow, it all still goes together. And it's like people, we're all shapes and sizes and ages and hair color and eye color and skin color. Some people are very, very tall. Some people aren't. But you know, I've always said God made swans, but he made ducks too. So we know that spark, that light of the Creator is always within us. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we look like. When we start really working with Spirit and developing our understanding, it doesn't matter if somebody's grumpy. It doesn't matter if somebody's angry. That's no excuse to get snipey about it. There's no excuse to return that. Ron is a pretty modest guy. He is an amazing healer. When we go out and we're checking out at a grocery store or wherever, and somebody's clearly not having a good day, and probably I wouldn't either if I was standing on my feet for hours and listening to people grumble about the weather and stuff, Ron has a wonderful way of just kind of teasing a little or just talking to them. To watch that change for someone who feels like nobody notices me anymore, nobody cares that I have to work this low-paying job to survive or to help feed people. That little bit of kindness, the eye contact makes such a difference. It doesn't have to be your best friend. It can be a total stranger. But when you make that eye contact, allowing the light of God to just flow, people respond. People respond. I respond. If I'm having a bad day, it's like, oh, you just change your whole demeanor. And you can do that. You can do that when you start a new day. Happy new day. What am I going to do today? Got any guidance? Or just let it flow when you're around other people. God knows best. We keep putting ourselves in the way instead of opening ourselves to that beautiful light. In closing, Andrew Jackson Davis, and we're going back to the 1800s, had a vision. My mother had a very remarkable one right before she passed, but she said it was a dream. So whatever you choose to call it, there is remarkable guidance for us. What came to him in the vision or the dream was this remarkable light and voice, and said, "Behold, here is thy staff, thy magic staff. Under all circumstances, keep an even mind." Well, we see a lot of people walking around up here with canes or staffs or walking sticks. The voice continued, "Take it. Behold, here it is. Take it. Try it. Walk with it. Talk with it. Keep an even mind. Lean on it. Believe on it forever." Please remember that magic staff is a lot more than a walking stick. Keep an even mind. It will help you really rejoice in good days. It will keep you balanced on not so good days. I hope you'll think about that this week. because every day is a happy new day if we encourage it, if we do our part. Thank you very much.
For additional lessons and meditation ideas, visit our website at www.meditate-wnc.org. Thank you for joining us.